Okay, everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat here in Shirat David, Baruch Hashem. And we had a beautiful Nate's Minyan today. Thank you, David. It was great. It was great. Okay, listen. We did the best we can, right?
Exactly.
And that's all the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to have a rotzen, right? To have a rotzen. Okay, so we're in Hilchos Netilas Yadayim, Shachris, Beis, and we're going to do Halacha Beis today. With HaShem's help, with Siyata Deshmaya. So the Rebbe says today, in Netilas Yadayim B'Shachris Be'ez Shemisayre Mishinasei. What's the idea of why we have to wash our hands in the morning when we get up from our sleep? I mean, what's the whole idea of washing our hands? Why do we need to do that? And so on. So we're going to learn a little bit about that now over the next few lessons. Okay, so the Rebbe says today, Al Pi Masha Kosa Rabbeinu Zal and Siman Reish Nun. And you should all know that we did yesterday Torah Reish Nun, which is lesson 250 in Likutey Maran, because the concepts were a little bit deep. So we delved into the Torah itself to draw out from what Rab Nosson was drawing out from in the lesson. Al Sheila Sahu Oivei Tamaya. So we had Rav Katia was walking, and there was an earthquake that happened, and he was by this he was in front of this naysayer, and he asked, like, why are there earthquakes? What's going on? Why earthquakes? And the naysayer, my Goya, like it says here, that was the question. And you can find this, and if you want to see more about this, you can look in the Gemara and Brachas on Nun Tes. Amid Aleph, you could look on 59a, and you could see a little bit more about the story if you'd like to look into that. So B'Shasha, because he answered him back. So this naysayer answered him back. B'Shasha, Kodesh Baruch Hu Zaycher Es Banav. At the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers his children, Shehein Shruyim B'Tzar Beinu Umais, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children find themselves amongst the nations of the world. Azai Meirich Shtei Demois Liyam Hagadol. He drops 2 tears. Again, this is not something physical. However, this is what the Gemara is saying. Again, there's nothing physical when it comes to the Rebbeinu Shalom, but it's just something that we can understand and use the words of Chazal. So Shnei Demois Liyama Godol. So there's a Yama Godol and there's Shnei Demois, 2 tears. V'koyle Nishma Misayfa Olam Be'at Sayfai. Ayin Sham, and the voice is heard from one end of the world to the other end of the world. So just a quick preview, just a quick review of what we said yesterday was, what was the reference of the two tiers? So we said that Demois is what it's doing is it's robbing from the eyesight, from the re'us, right? Because we said when a person cries, right, then they get a blurred vision. So in that blurred vision is what? Is hashgacha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts hashgacha and there's re'us. So you have a vision of hashgachas Hashem in that dimma, in that tear. In the teardrop, you have a vision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha in there. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes us out from the realm of teva, and he puts us into the realm of hashgacha, and that's how we see all the Yeshua's Hashem comes from when we understand that everything in our lives is mamish hashgachas Hashem. It's not teva, it's not mikra, it's all hashgachas Hashem. Oh, is that clear? Good? Okay. Because any isurim, any kind of pain, difficulty a Jew finds himself in, okay, is only because he has a chesron adas. Now we said, what does that mean? He doesn't understand that it's custom made for him. That situation is custom tailored for him for what he needs at that very moment in his life, and that's the das. So again, when we understand that this is what the person needs in his life at that moment, so then it's a little bit easier to understand, to accept it. Again, it's not, it's a life's work to work on this, to recognize that when we're going through a difficulty, that it's really HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed this for me at this time. It's very easy to say it, but to live it, it's very, very hard, right?
Yeah, very hard.
It's very hard, but again, to have the knowledge. So whenever because we all go through situations, and when we're going through, so at least to understand what is it, what, how do I view this, right? Ki mi sheyesh leidas v'yadei shakol b'ashkocha meHaShem yisbarach, because he who has the das and he understands that what is the das here? What we say in Shemona Esrei all the time, Chaynein das. Hashem, bestow me upon me das. What is the das? This is the das. To understand the hashgacha pratis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me the das that I recognize you're mamish in my life. That you're in my life. Amazing. Shakol b'hashgacha meHaShem ve'ein lo yishum yisurim ve'ein lo yimargish shum tzar. Again, the person's not going to have any kind of pain, any kind of difficulty. Again, on everyone's level, right? You know, there are millions of levels in this, right? Everyone can, if a person is a true mammon and the true tzaddikim, they were going through whatever they were going through, and they were okay with it because they lived it. They lived it. The more we can live it is the more we cannot sense the tsar and the pain and whatever in the situation that we're going through. And the main tsar that we deal with is because we fall. Since we're amongst the nations of the world, and the nations of the world, they run on teva, they run on mazel. A Jew, it runs above mazel. A Jew is above teva. We're above it, but because we're shari, we're amongst the nations world, so we kind of learn from them, right? And then again, that's why the Rebbe is always telling us, stay away from chachmas chitzayni, stay away from chachmas, the external knowledge, because when you do that, that's going to take you away from the das of hashgacha pratis. It's going to bring you into the world of teva, into the world of mikvah, where you can we have nothing to do with that. Ay, Hashem, please let us live this way. Okay? Machma zeh yesh lehem tsar, v'zeh machma sheim shuyim bein ha'oivdei kechavim v'lamdu mehem. So we're amongst the nations of the world, the oivdei kechavim, the idol worshippers and all of them, right? Right? And then we unfortunately we learn from them because we see from them. And even if today, like we said, if we're living in a nice Jewish neighborhood, but we get the news and we get the things and we get all the stuff. So it really infiltrates into us no matter where we are. Look at these words. But really, we transcend. We're above teva. We have nothing to do with nature. But when we sin, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that we're stuck amongst the nations of the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers that He was the one that scattered us amongst the nations of the world. Hashem remembers that. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to help us. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu writes to Laishias Yisrael. Right. Kishem chaytim chas shalom. As I tried to explain to you, because then HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers that He put us amongst the nations of the world. He put us over there, and He set us up for this situation. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes a little bit. He has pity on Klal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Racham Mechanun, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has compassion on the Jewish people. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to take us out and bring us from our golus that we're in our golus prati, our golus klali, right? Each and everyone's their own individual golus that they're in. So now HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings hashgacha from the end of time and the end of the world, which is really the end of time, like we learned yesterday. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes that, He borrows, so to say, from that hashgacha, when it's going to be that way in the world, and He brings it, He lets us experience it. He lets us experience it right at this time.
It's the same lashon as the Gemara.
Yeah.
Of the tears. Right?
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
The idea of the tears is that that because there's hashgacha in the tear that was stolen from the eyes, and so to speak. No,
again, we said that the drop The drop has the re'us, it has the vision in there because again the eyes get blurry. Right. So there's some vision in there.
It has in it.
And it has the hashgacha. It's the hashgacha Hashem that the tear is there. So then you have the re'u, you have the vision of the hashgacha in the tear.
So when the tear falls, I know that just in a metaphor.
Yeah.
When it falls to the ocean, right?
Yeah.
That's like Hashem sharing Hashgacha with us.
That's the earthquake. we said.
But that's his way of showing.
Yeah.
Us Hashgacha.
Showing us that again, when there's an earthquake, so we realize it's not teva. It's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. I tried to use that example yesterday, where in Florida they're going through that, they went through it. I don't even know. They're still going through, right? So there's certain areas that are hit, and certainly that makes no sense. The teva doesn't make sense. Why did it hit here and not here? And why was this destroyed and that was not destroyed? And why was and no one understands. So when you recognize that, you see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is picking and choosing everything. Unbelievable. It's meant us to wake us up, to see it. There's this devastation, and the world says it's teva. The world says it's teva. But we realize it's something, it's not more, it's way more than teva. Why was this one got and why was that right? Unbelievable. I'm telling you, wow. I remember in New York when we had the Hurricane Sandy. It was mamish amazing. In anyone's home that was just a little bit higher. Sometimes the houses are a little elevated, a little tiny elevation. So those houses didn't get water. The ones that were just a drop lower, they all got flooded. You remember, right? It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable what happened at the time. You saw the hashgacha, mamish, in the devastation. You were able to see hashgachas Hashem, and you could see it. You could find it if you look for it. Like we said from the Navi Yeshua, that's going to happen is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu, and we're going to have the real das, and we're going to have the real hashgacha. So the Shemayim is going to vanish like smoke. It's just going to vanish. The whole idea of teva, which is based on the constellations of the mazolos, right? The whole thing of teva is based on the mazolos, on the I guess you could say the constellations. Yeah, okay, now you like that? Okay. Of Oz Yil Yisrael Lamala, then we'll be Lamala, then we'll be above. And again, I always like to bring that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Avraham Avinu a preview of this, because Avraham Avinu saw in this. Avraham Avinu understood how to look at the stars. He understood how to look at the constellations. He understood it, and he saw that he wasn't going to have children. His wife wasn't going to have children. He saw that. So HaKadosh Baruch said, okay, come on. HaKadosh Baruch took him and he brought him over the stars, over everything, and look down at it. Unbelievable.
You're not controlled by these Muslims.
You're not controlled. That's the best example. Avraham Avinu is the first yid, and HaKadosh Baruch brings him up and tells you have nothing to do with teva. Yeah, everyone else has. All the other guys in the world have to do with that. That's true, but not you. We have to understand that and believe it.
We live in such a secular world now that even to believe in the teva of the mazalos is like beyond teva. Like the teva today is like
but really that's already like but let's say maybe David, that's Hashem preparing us to recognize that we don't have to know these mazalos because really we're above it. That's why we don't need to know that. It's a preparation. I thought Mashiach is coming. I'm telling you, it's going to be any minute now. How much we just got to hold on. Any minute. Oy, HaKadosh Baruch, you hear these words? Look at this. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to knock down the Oivdei Kechavim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring us up above. He wants to raise us up above, to bring us to the cover that we, to give us the cover, to bring us the cover that we need. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings us to Hashgacha Me'Seif Olam. Sha'oz la'yiyah rak hashgacha because at that time there'll only be hashgacha. You'll see it's all the dominion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu only. It's only His will. HaKadosh Baruch Hu raises us up, and we become the people we're supposed to be. Ayin Sham Kol Zeheitev V'zeh B'shor Shezoicher, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers us. So that's just now we understood a little bit better because we saw the lesson inside, right? I think we did, right? Does it make a little more sense now, right? Than we did it the other day, right? Because now at least we understand where Rabbi Nachman was drawing on. Shaka, do you have any questions? Is it clear? Yeah. Okay. So should we go weiter? Can we go weiter? Okay. So let's see Aleph. Okay. So everyone, we're in Hilchas Netilas Yadayim Shachris Beis. We're in Halacha Beis, and we're doing Aleph now. Okay. Shenista Leikadas.
That was introduction.
Right? That was its introduction, yeah. Every time we start a new halacha, Rav Nosson always gives us this powerful lesson that just a preview of the next of that halacha. This is what he's going to be talking about during this halacha. Okay. So look now. Okay, shenistale kadas. But when when the das goes away, and we don't know. And we don't recognize the Hashgachas Hashem. Da'aynu she'en yoidin chas v'sholom shakol ma misnai gerak b'Hashgachas Hashem levad v'soivim sheyesh teva chas v'sholom. Oh, but when we lose that das, when we lose the das and it goes away, when it exits us and we don't have that das and we don't recognize the Hashgachas Hashem and we just think we're stuck in teva. This is just the way it is. This is the way the world is. It's all teva. Chas v'sholom. V'zeh b'china sheina. That's an idea of sleep. That's an idea of sleep. When a person goes to sleep, he doesn't know what's going on around him. So too, when we're awake and we don't have the das and we don't recognize it's Hashem and we think it's something else, then we're mamish asleep too. V'zeh istalkas hadas b'chinas laila v'choshech. And with Rav Nosson, we learned this idea so many times. Whenever we have istalkas hadas, Rav Nosson said we have to go to sleep. Right, that was the idea, to go to sleep earlier, right? Because when you have that estalkas hadas and you don't have that they recognize it's all Hashem and there's all this stuff going on in the world, go to sleep, rely on your emunah, and get up, right? Right? Okay, okay, the whole idea of day, right? We learned a lot about this. Remember, guys? We learned a lot about this. Okay, we have night. Is called the istalkus hadas, and the day is called the yom, is called the das. Because in the day everything is clear, it's bright, you could see it, you could see the hashgachas Hashem. Hainu ki ha'arhu rak Hashem yisbarach kiviyachal. The day is only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As bechinas, look at this beautiful Hashem oiri v'iyishi. Hashem oiri v'iyishi. Oiri zu Rosh Hashanah, we know that, right? And Yishi is Yom Kippur, right? Right? We say L'dav Hashem Oiri v'Yishi, right? Oiri is Rosh Hashanah. Yeshua is Yom Kippur, right? Bechinas kel Hashem v'yeh lonu. V'zeh ikar or HaShemesh. That's the main light of the Shemesh, to recognize the or is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To recognize that. Bechinas ki Shemesh mogen Hashem tzivokos. Look at the beautiful words. Ki shemesh u'magen, because the sun and the protection is really from what? Hashem tzivaka, is Hashem the master of legions. It's coming from Hashem. Hainu. Ki sheyodim she'Hashem yizbarach ma'negoyla b'ashkocha levad, ze ikar or. When we have that knowledge and we have that understanding that it's really only HaKadosh Baruch Hu running the world, that's or, that's light, that's day. Ki ikar ha'or hu b'chol makayim shenimsa or k'may or hashemesh v'kiyotze. The same way, when it's light outside, wherever you go during the day, you have light, you see. Why is it that way? Because to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really the one that's giving the power to the sun. Who is giving the power to the sun to give light? Hashem. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing the same way that the sun goes everywhere in the world. Wherever it's day, you can see. Right? Wherever it is, it's day, you can see during the day, it's no problem. So too, that's the clarity that Hashem is in the world during all the time. V'kiyotze. V'zeh rak or Hashem yizbarach kiviyachal. That's really only Hashem's light. So we see the sun and we think, oh, the sun is bright. Oh, the sun is so nice. It's warming. It's delightful. It's wonderful. But that's really HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing himself through the sun. Hashem is showing himself and he's showing his hashgacha through the sun. His light through the sun. K'mei alanu, that light illuminates us. Ukishenayflim chas v'shalom. But when we fall, mizeh das, from this das, v'soylim b'teva chas v'shalom. And unfortunately, when we fall from this das, and then we think everything is rather it's all teva, it's all nature, chas v'shalom. Zeh b'chinas es da'alchus ha'or. That's like at nighttime, right? At nighttime, you don't have the light leaves, and that's the same idea that the das leaves. So then again, that's v'hazayu b'chinas laila v'choshech chas v'shalom, and then it's dark. And as it says in the W. again, that when the sun goes down, it's going to be dark. Right? So many of these psukim like this, he brings from Yoel, okay? All of these are talking about the time of the exile that we're in. And we know that we're in the gullus now of Esav and Yishmael together. That's the gullus that we're in. Boy, wow. Okay, Hainu ki begullus nechshav ki'ilu nechshach or hashemesh. And when we're in gullus, things seem so dark and dismal sometimes. They seem so dark and dismal, so it's as if like the sun is down and there's the darkness from the sun. Again, what is that reference to? That's reference to we don't recognize the hashgachas Hashem. That's the problem. Because golus is compared to light, night, the nighttime. Rashi. The whole idea of golus is drawing is what? Because we think of teva. So when we think we have to protect ourselves, and we think we have to do, and it's on us. We're mamish in golus. That's mamish the darkness, right? It's only when we recognize it's all Hashem and it's He's watching us. And that's why when it becomes dark when the sun leaves, and that's the idea of the das leaving us, and that's when it gets dark in our minds. And we think it's all teva. Whenever we think it's teva, whenever we think we're bound by what the world says, we're bound by what the UN says, we're bound by what the Rosh HaMemshala tells us. Right? When we think that chas v'shalom, it's stupid, that these people are all a bunch of buffoons, every single one of them. Oh, it was an amazing thing. I just want to share this with you. So we were talking with Reb Chaim over Rosh Hashanah. We were talking, and then we asked him about, who would you vote for, because the elections are coming up. So he said, I want to tell you something. 47 years ago, he says, I was in the United States, and I went to the poll to vote. And he says, I saw over there was one pile of dung. I saw another pile of dung. And I saw a third pile of dung. She said, what am I going to vote for? Whatever I vote for, it's all dung. It's all dung. He said, ever since then, I never voted. Because it's all you have. He says it the way it is. Imam says it the way it is. He says it the way it is. Oy, Baruch Hashem, es soll sagen, es sind stark, Mamisch, bis 120. Okay, Kitekiv, Kishetolin beteva, Chashashol, Mazayin is Talik, or Me'ashemesh, then when we fall to the teva, so then the chas v'sholem, so then we lose the shemesh, we lose the light, we lose the clarity. Ukilo neshach hashemesh mamash, and it's if the sun during the day is dark, but it's not. The sun is never dark during the day. There's always light, even if it's a cloudy day. There's still light, right? Maybe it's a little less light, but there's still light. There's always going to be light, and we have to remember that Kibe'emes ein la shemesh or klal rak me Hashem yizbarach. The sun has no light of its own. All the light we see from the sun is really the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Isn't that so beautiful? Isn't that so beautiful? The light that we get from the sun is not this light from the sun. The light that we get from the sun is really HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. Anyone say anything on this? Any? No? An idea to understand that the light that we see right now, we're looking outside, it's so bright, that's Hashem's light. You mamish could see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the sunlight.
I was just thinking that if you subject yourself to the darkness, you subject yourself to the teva.
Yeah.
Does Rabbi Nassan ever say something like that? Then Hashem will let the teva rule you a little bit.
It does.
It does.
Of
But
course.
obviously it's hashgacha.
Chazal tell us that.
But you're
But Chazal say to tell us that.
If you subject yourself to teva, then.
But there's really no such thing as falling out of hashgacha.
Wait a second. Wait a second. What was one of the most famous lines of the Lubavitcher Rebbe? One of his most famous lines. Az metrach git, vetzich zayin git. If I think it's good, it'll be good. That's what it's all about. That's it. The Rebbe saw the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything. See the light in HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything, and everything will be good. That's what he was saying. Mamash's lesson. That's what he was saying, right? That was one of his most famous lines. Wasn't that? Is it true? Yeah. But so that's what
Come see it on a big piece of artwork.
right? So based that's why I was just answering what you just said, David.
Right.
In other words, if you subscribe, if you think everything is bad, which means you think it's teva and it's all bad, so then then unfortunately it'll be bad.
Right.
That's why he wanted everyone to understand. Always think good. Always think positive. Because then you're thinking of the Rebbeinu. That's the Nekudas Taivas. Reish Pei Beis, like we learned, right? Ay, Baruch Hashem. See that? You see how Chabad always works together so nicely with Breslov? It's mamish. It's such a nice.
It's Mishulav.
Mamish Mishulav, right? Okay. Can we do another little piece? Can we have a few more minutes? And therefore, the Golus is compared to what? Night and darkness. The Golus is night and darkness. Because again, we have a perception. It's really our perception of what we think, how we perceive things. That's a Golistic way of looking at things, not a Geulitic way. Right? When we see everything is dark and dismal, so that's Golus. We're thinking in a Golistic way. Because really, Golus is when we're depending on Teva. We have to have better missiles, we need better this, and we need better that. Why? Because we need to outsmart them, and we have to have better, we need it's all us. Right? That's all Teva. That's all Teva. But that's not the way it is. And that's why there's so many problems. And then it's an idea of light, it's darkness, and choshech, and the R is it left, and the das left. The das of Ashkochas Hashem. It left. You have the place? You have it?
No.
Val King.
Gimel.
Not Kimmel, no.
I think we have a different so I lost it.
Me too.
1 second.
Yeah, okay.
I got it. It's here.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't have a separate paragraph for that Balkan.
Yeah, I was studying.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we can.
Okay.
V'zebach in the Shane is Stalkos Das Leida.
Yeah, v'zebechin eshen estalkus hadas. Leida shakol b'ashkocha. Everything to not recognize constantly that it's really all hashkocha, that it's really Hashem. Or that's the main, that's the real or, and that's the or of the Shemesh that we see all the time. And Hashem sends the sun every morning. We get this Zoyrech HaShemesh, the Shemesh shines, and we have the light, the brightness of the sun. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu showing us again, kindlech, understand, that's my light. Don't think it's the light of the sun. That's my light, showing it this hope, and this bright, and it's going to be gewaldig. Unbelievable, right?
What's the Rebbe's advice when there is the histalkus of das?
Go to sleep.
That's over the course of the day, but you have a histalkus in your life. You have a histalkus in the middle of the day. You have what's the?
So we said that's what we learned Reish Nun yesterday. So if something's really bothering a person, the person starts to cry. And then if the person cries, he can see the hashkacha in those tears and give him that vision of hope. It's all.
And put the tefillin on.
Huh?
Put the tefillin on.
And what?
Put the tefillin on.
And put the tefillin on. There we go. Oh, the tefillin is that's the antenna.
Yeah.
Connecting to Tisha B'Av. Oy, Valkim Vishashena Sitra de Mesava Shraya al Barnash. And therefore, when we go to sleep, that is the side of impurity rests on a person. The side of impurity stays on a person. And then that's why, and it goes where? On his hands. It winds up on his hand. That's what the Gemara says. That the main idea of the Sitra Acher is what? Oivdei Kechavim. Those people that are, it's interesting that he's using the word Oivdei Kechavim, right? The stars, right? What's Kechavim? They serve the stars, Mazel, right? They worship the Teva. They're worshiping Teva, right? It comes from Kfira. It's all heresy. That's the main point, and that's the main vehicle of the Yetzar. Shenikra kel acher el acher kefiras kamuva. It's a God, another God. That's why when we say Kriya Shema, we say Echad, and we have to make sure we enunciate the Dalet so it doesn't Chas V'Shalom. We shouldn't. The Gemara says that we shouldn't say it shouldn't be a Reish. Acher Chas V'Shalom Chas V'Chalila, right? Whenever we rely on Teva, that's the main point, and that's the main point where the Oivdei Kechavim can get in. They eke in. They want us to believe in Teva because that's their vehicle. And when we have Istalkus Adas and we engage in things and try to understand things, then we're connecting to the Oivdei Kechavim. We're connecting to the Sitra Acher Mamish. And therefore, when we go to sleep, we don't have our das, where we put our das to rest, right? Because again, at that time, early in the night, there's all this stuff is going on in the world. So why do I want to be involved in that? Why do I need to hear all that stuff? I'll go to sleep.
Shut it down.
I'll go to sleep, and I'll get up early in the morning where it's quiet. I don't have no more noise. I can think. It's a good system. It's a good program.
It's a great program, but he's saying that all that other side like attaches to the body.
It attaches to the mind. No, to our mind.
No, that it comes into our
Das. It comes into our das, into our mind.
No, when we're sleeping.
Yeah, no. So when we're playing, that's Istalkus Adas. We put our mind to rest.
And therefore, but then our body is subject to.
No. So we're sleeping. So then we're relying on Emunah. Ve'emunascha b'aleilais.
Same thing. Why we have to wash our hands when we wake up in the morning. So again,
because no, because the Gemara says that when we sleep, that's a shishim of misa. It's a 60th of death. The fact when we go to sleep, it's a 60th death by itself. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. Here, what Rav Nassan is saying, I believe he's saying over here, Lania Stati, I think that the Rav Nassan is saying over here is telling us why you have to go to sleep. Now that you went to sleep, when you put your mind to rest, because maybe because you weren't thinking, because you were sleeping, so then a little tumah got on you, whatever it is. So that's why you have to wash it off. Okay, Adas. Va'oz miskabe chas v'sholem b'chinas oidei kechavim b'chinas toikef hagola shenimshal laila v'sheina. At night they're so strong. The whole idea of the Sitra Acher is so strong, and he tries to get in and eke into Jews, and that's why you see the guy. People don't want to go to sleep at night. They want to go to sleep very late. Why? Why should they feel that way? Why is there such a taiva? I want to go to sleep late. Why? Yours truly.
There's something that he says about the Matzei Shabbat, because there's a dat, expansion of dat on Matzei Shabbat. That's why it's hard to go to sleep.
No, Matzah Shabbos is a totally different thing. We're not talking here about Matzah Shabbos. Here we're talking about on a regular, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Right. Matzah Shabbos, the whole idea is to say, to sell over Sipurim of Tzadikim, to tell over, and that's to bring the Das in, and that's to infuse the Das into the week. It's a whole different idea. That's a the Zemiris of Matzah Shabbos are so full of das, so full of Hashgachas Hashem, unbelievable. I mean, the story with Eliyahu Navi, that story is remarkable, right? Remember that story?
I don't know the story.
Oh, there's a story on Matzah Shabbos that we have in the Zemiris, that there was a very, very poor man, that mamash he He had no money for anything, but he was a true Eved Hashem. He was a true Eved Hashem, but he had no money, and he had no way to make any money. He had nothing. So his wife said to him, "Why don't you go out to the market and then try to make some business, try to do something?" But he said, "I have no clothes. So how am I going to go?" So she borrows clothes for him. She borrows some clothes for him, and then he goes out. He goes to the market, and he meets Eliyahu Hanavi. And Eliyahu Hanavi says to him, "You could sell me. You could sell me as a slave. Sell me as a slave, and you'll have your money." It's just how could the what do you call it, the slave sell the master? You're the master. How can I say no? Do this. So Eliyahu Hanavi, he puts Eliyahu Hanavi on the auction block, and a builder that needed to build a tracklin, a big palace. You heard this story, right? No. The builder that needed to build this beautiful tracklin, this beautiful palace. He made a deal with him that if I build a palace for you and I get it all done, I'm free, right? And the guy said yes, he's free. So that night, Eliyahu Hanavi employed all the malachim. He brought all the malachim down. He brought everyone down, and they built this most beautiful palace. And in the morning, he said, "Okay, no, here's your palace." So he said he was free. He freed him. But what do you see? I notice again, when we rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this guy, he relied on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He had nothing. He didn't care about worldly things. He had nothing to do with worldly things. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted his children to be taken care of, even though he was okay with everything the way it was. He didn't care. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends him Eliyahu Hanavi, and a story like this happens. It's in the Zmiris of Matzah Shabbos. Unbelievable story. So that's again. You asked why Matzah Shabbos. So I'm sorry, we went off the tangent here. Okay, bechinas taikim agolos shenim shelalayla v'shenish nikasam bechinas his gabras hateva. It's the whole thing of his the teva is so strong. V'zeh bechinas sitra the misava the shraya barnash. That's what it means. The sitra of impurity rests on the person. Now we can't stop over there with that, okay? Now, the whole idea of tikkun hasheni, you do it b'kedusha. You bring in kedusha. That's why before we go to sleep, we say Kriya Shema Lamita. We prepare ourselves. We do the right thing. We do it b'kedusha. Al yedei emunah. We have to infuse emunah. Kamuva b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal, as Rabbeinu Zal said in lesson 35. Oh, what a lesson I give out. Hayna b'shashas dalkas hadas b'china sheina. When at the time when we go to sleep, we have it's an idea of when the das leaves, it's an idea of sleep. When the person sees that his das is mebulbul, it's all confused. He doesn't have clarity in his thinking. And he doesn't know how. He can't sense it at that time. There's some confusion going on in his life, and he doesn't see the Rabbeinu Shalom clearly in his life. That's what you were just saying, right? It's now we're living amongst the nations of the world. The UN, that's Rashaya Mamish. Shenidma L'Laila, that it's the whole life seems. It seems that we're in a dark and dismal situation. It's so black, it's so dark. Because the Chachmas HaTeva is so rampant in the world. Now we have to send off and to remove. We have to rely only on emunah. We have to rely on emunah and forget what the world is saying and forget.
It's like a level of going to sleep.
Yeah.
Throw away your das completely.
Forget it. Just rely on Hashem. Trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's it. Ulahamim b'emuna shlema shakol b'ashkacha. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu levad. B'einai shum teva ba'olam klal. There is no teva in the world whatsoever. It's only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And again, every Jew is above teva. We have nothing to do with teva. We transcend teva. We transcend mazel. We have nothing to do with it. We just have to train our minds to believe it. And that's the das. I believe that we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Chaynei Nadas Shmai Nesrei, we can have this thought, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me the das, that I see you, and I see when I see it's a sunny day outside, I realize it's your light, Hashem. And I know it's not the sun. I know it's not the sun. I know you're shining your light through the sun, but I know it's really your light that's being shined through the sun. Okay, should we stop over there, guys, or we go a little more? We can go a little more?
End of a paragraph, maybe.
Okay.
We have an end of paragraph at Vamunas Kabbalah.
Oh, Vamunas. Okay, fine. And that's the idea of Tikkun Hashena Idei Emunah. We can fix our sleep. We can fix that sleep through Emunah. Hayna b'shah sheina, at the time when I go to sleep. Tzrichen lichnois l'soich b'chinas Emunah. When I go to sleep, I put myself. I have to enter into a realm of emunah. I need to put myself into a realm of emunah. Lismay chalamuna levad meyachesh nistala gedas. Because at that time the das left. So now I need to rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have to rely on emunah. I need emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because if I have emunah in Hashem, then I can be successful in my avodas Hashem. Kimay achsha begola she'anu tzrichim tamid lischazik b'emunah. As now we're in Golus, we have to constantly strengthen our emunah. Levad meyachesh hadayin lo nisgala das, because now we don't have that das. B'shleimus leida be'emesh hakol b'ashkocha. We can't always see it. So therefore, put away your own thoughts. Put away all the chachmas chitzoni, all of that stuff. Put it away, dispel it, get rid of it, remove it, and just rely on emunah, bechinas v'emunascha baleilos. And as we say in Tehillim Tzadik Beis, be'emunascha baleilos, at night, I need, when it's dark at night, what do I need? I need emunah. I need to infuse myself with emunah baleilos. You know, the holy Naim Elimelech. It was an amazing trip. You know that the Reb Chaim, Baruch Hashem, on this trip now, it was the first time he made it to Poland, and he made it to Lezhensk. It was the first time he made it to Lezhensk. He went to the Ukraine too, and he was over there probably over 200 times. But the Lezhensk was his first time. And then I just want to say one thing over from the holy Naim Elimelech. One of the most famous things of the Naim Elimelech was that every Shalosh Shuddis, he used to always tell the Hasidim that were with him. When he was probably the Shalosh Shuddis together, I can only imagine how many beautiful Yiddim were there. And he would say like this, he would say, you should know at the end of time, the Naim Melech would say, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be like a chevel, there's a rope that comes from Shemayim all the way down to earth. And that's the chevel of Emunah. That's the chevel of Emunah. That's the rope of Emunah. And all the Yiddelach are going to be holding on to the rope. And Hashem is going to want to see who are the strong, who are the ones that really believe in Him. So when Hashem is going to take the rope on the top, and He's going to start to shake it a little bit. And it's going to really shake, then it starts to reverberate a lot down the bottom, right? And then those that don't have such strong emunah, they'll fall off. And then Hashem is going to shake it a little bit more. And then those that don't, they're going to fall off. And then those that are really only the real maminim, those are the ones that'll be holding on, and they'll make it to the end of time with Mashiach. And we know that when we went out of Mitzrayim, right, it was for Chamushim Olam in Mitzrayim, right? Rashi says Chamushim means they were armed, but right, you can see that, right? Rashi says that we were armed when we went out of Mitzrayim, but really Chamushim is, you can understand, also a fifth.
Left behind.
4/5 left behind. And we know that the Golus Mitzrayim, we learn when our Gula is going to come the same way the Gula was. So that's why I believe this lesson is so important, that we have to constantly strengthen our emunah, because the times may get a little bit rough out there. They may get, but to recognize that it's Hashkochas Hashem, not that they're getting rough, that it's really Hashkochas Hashem. Hashem wants to see if you're on His side. Mi Hashem Elai. Mi Hashem Elai. Like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Mi Hashem Elai. Who's going to be with me? Who's going to be? Who's with me? Who's going to have those people? Ve'munascha baleilas. Shkoyach.